I hate intros. Haikyuu to the top, OVA 1. And if you don't care about the OVAs because it's just Fukurodani and Nekoma High and how they qualified for the nationals, then you could jump ahead to episode 1. Like I said before, the first OVA kicks off with the qualifiers going on for nationals in the Tokyo region. The top 3 teams will move on, and Nekoma is going against Fukurodani in the semi-finals. Fukurodani's ace, Bokuto, seems to be in the zone, which is always bad news for the other team. Typically, he is really good at cross spikes, but since Nekoma's libero was blocking most of his shots, he started using straight spikes. Nekoma's 5-head Kenma picked up on him changing his strats, so they adjust to start shutting him down. They also have their unpredictable ace, Lev, who we see is definitely a work in progress, but is rapidly improving thanks to Kenma's reluctant guidance. Now, you should remember that Bokuto is a wild card, so when he's excelling at a certain aspect of his game, he'll sometimes forget how to do everything else. He gets to the point that he can't remember how to do a proper cross spike since he was focusing so much on his straight spikes. Keiji steps up to compensate for Bokuto being a bit of a dumbass and gets Fukurodani their win over Nekoma High. This secures Fukurodani a spot at nationals along with the other finalist team, Itachiyama Institute. Nekoma isn't quite out of it yet because the top 3 teams are going, so they have to play against Nohebi Academy for 3rd place and the last spot at nationals. The Nohebi captain, Suguro Daisho, is the 3rd-year dick who constantly antagonizes everybody. It gets to be 21-19 when Lev starts to step it up, but on the same play, Nekoma's libero Morisuke gets injured. OVA 2. We get a flashback of Morisuke and Tetsuro when they first meet. There is a lot of friction between the two because they are basically polar opposites. The only thing the two could ever agree on is their dream to win nationals. But anyways, back to the match. Yuki Shibayama is sent to replace Morisuke, and everybody rallies around Kenma to win the first set. The Nohebi ace Kazuma Numai comes in to turn things around. When it looks like Nekoma is about to score, he purposely positions himself to block the ref's sight, making it look like it was out. This is all a part of the team's strategy to win by any means necessary, even if it's a little shady. Despite their piddly-ass tactics, Lev and Yuki sync up and manage to grab the winning point, securing 3rd place and Nekoma's spot at nationals. This is also another stepping stone for Lev because he's starting to learn how teams work together, making him an even bigger threat. In the last couple of scenes, we see that in the finals, Itachiyama Institute ended up beating Fukurodani Academy, making them the 1st seed. And with those out of the way, we can now get into episode 1. We get a refresher that Kageyama was invited to the youth training camp, the same that Wakatoshi was invited to when he was younger. This means that 2 years from now, he could get picked as one of the under 19 representatives to compete against the world. It's going to be 5 days long and happens right before the spring tournament in January, which is nationals. There is also going to be a special training camp for promising rookies in the Miyagi Prefecture. This is an attempt to level up Miyagi Prefecture's volleyball skills as a whole. Tsukishima was the only 1st year to be invited though. Hinata is really bothered by the fact that he didn't get invited anywhere and it's weighing on his mental. Jump ahead just a bit where we see that Hinata has tagged along with Tsukishima to Shiratorizawa High in order to attend the camp without permission. He gets scolded by his coaches for being a fucking idiot and going to a camp that he wasn't even invited to. Luckily, Shiratorizawa's thick eyebrow coach steps in to say that he doesn't mind if Hinata stays. Over to Kageyama, who arrives at his camp and meets Saksa Kiyumi, the ace from Tokyo's 1st seed Itachiyama Institute. Nothing really comes from that though, and then we jump back over to Hinata, who finds out that Washijo is skeptical that Hinata will be useless without Kageyama. Since Kageyama isn't there to carry him, he gives Hinata the option of going home or being the ball boy, but he can't play. This doesn't discourage Hinata though, so he sticks around to be the ball boy. Episode 2. On the first day, Hinata fulfills his role as ball boy while the others practice. You can tell that he's eager to play, and we see that he feels like he's starting to fall behind everybody else. The next day, he is repeatedly scolded by everybody, and then he goes back to be ball boy again. Today's a little different though, because the Shiratorizawa 3rd years and alumni, including Wakatoshi and Tendo, show up to play a practice match against the camp participants. And as one would expect, the camp members get smashed 2 sets in a row by the upperclassmen. Episode 3. While watching the practice matches, Hinata tries observing the players to learn about what makes them so strong. He notices one player using a subtle movement that he remembers is called a split step to reset his form and propel himself to where he needs to be. Hinata tries implementing this while retrieving the balls, and while it works, he gets cracked in the face. After practice is done, some of the players stick around to play some more, and Hinata continues working as the ball boy in order to perfect the timing on his split step. We see the other Karasuno boys are hard at work as well, as they lose a practice match to another team because most of their key players are missing. Again, Hinata is ball boy, but his movements are now a lot more thought out instead of being purely instinctual. Episode 4. Tsukishima asks Hinata to practice blocking with him and some of the other players after practice. Hinata thinks that he is trying to give him a chance to play, but it's revealed that Tsukishima wants to play against Hinata because he is a spiker that can actually see the blockers and give him a challenge. Of course, Tsukishima's never gonna say that because he's a dick who doesn't like to give compliments. Kageyama, to no one's surprise, is syncing up well with the others in his camp and proves that he is more than capable of keeping up with all of them. There are a couple of players that stand out though, including Korai Hoshiumi. Hoshiumi is much like Hinata and the Little Giant in the sense that he is very short but is still one of the best players at the camp. We also meet another threat in the second-year setter Miya Atsumu, who causes friction with Kageyama, calling him a goody two-shoes. Anyways, back on over to Hinata, where the guys are doing 2v2 matches. One of the players, Yudai Hyakuzawa, is getting really discouraged and ends up saying that he wishes Hinata was invited instead of him. Hinata scolds him for being ungrateful for the opportunity and then gives him some advice on how to take it easy, which improves his performance. Episode 5. We see that the Goody Two-Shoes comment makes Kageyama reflect on being the Tyrant King, and it starts to affect his play. Meanwhile, at Hinata's camp, the upperclassmen come back for another skirmish with the guys. Hinata tries learning everything he can from the other players, including Wakatoshi. Kageyama manages to snap out of his funk and starts playing like himself again. After practice, he asks Miya what he meant when he called him a goody two-shoes. He just responds that Kageyama is serious, honest, and an all-around good kid, which is pretty vague and doesn't fucking help. The camp comes to an end and everybody parts ways until they meet again at Nationals. Hinata's camp ends also, and we see Kageyama's old teammate Hajime asking about Kageyama and seems to have gotten over him being the Tyrant King when they played together. Episode 6. The gang is all reunited after the camps and work on their serves, where Hinata shows off his new split step move. We also see Kageyama give Hinata tips on how to jump higher by shifting his weight to different parts of his feet, which is what Hoshiumi was doing. Date Tech then arrives for a practice match where they show that their Iron Wall defense is as good as ever. They continuously read and block Kageyama's sets, which gets him pumped up to be getting to play against so many strong teams. Episode 7. During one of the plays, Kageyama gets kind of annoyed and says that Nishinoya was in the way of the back attackers. Normally, nobody ever has anything really bad to say to Nishinoya, and certainly not like that. Ever since he's gotten back from camp, Kageyama has been a little bit more sinister and everybody seems to be picking up on it. Things start to get even more tense when he starts giving Tsukishima orders also. The big teddy bear Asahi is next on Kageyama's hit list when he snaps on him for missing an easy point that cost them the first set. Tsukishima, being the confrontational dick he is, makes a comment about this being the return of the king, but when Kageyama goes to apologize, Hinata stops him. He says that Kageyama should voice what he's thinking, and that if him or the others don't like it, then just don't listen, forehead. Everyone points out that it's really more about how he delivers the criticism. Kageyama seems to be trying to find a middle ground between the king and Goody Two-Shoes, where he can speak his mind without pissing everybody off. He also decides to not use his skill to compensate for Spiker's bad habits, and instead force them to spike correctly, which is what he does with Tsukishima. This doesn't really work out since they aren't exactly used to this style, and they end up losing the second set also. Everyone can see that the communication is in the middle of an evolution, with all of the players learning the proper ways to give and receive feedback with Kageyama. Episode 8. Karasuno manages to win the third set thanks to Hinata drawing so much attention from the blockers, creating openings for the others. We also see Kageyama getting more conscientious of how other players are doing, like Tsukishima getting really tired and learning how to play around that. We get another scene of Hinata's instincts being improved and how he's able to now bait blockers to him more effectively. Asahi shows a lot more confidence in the face of the Iron Wall, which used to intimidate him and was also the reason he quit in the prior seasons. He uses the newfound confidence to score the winning point, giving them their final win in the practice matches. Episode 9. On New Year's Day, the Karasuno upperclassmen seem a little on edge, but a visit to a shrine helps them get in the right mindset for nationals. The filler content continues as the night before the tournament rolls around and everyone is dealing with their nerves for the big day in different ways. When they arrive for the first day, Kageyama reconvenes with some of the players from his training camp. We also get the reunion of Karasuno with their rivals in Nekima High and Fukurodani right before all of the teams make their entrance to finally get things underway. Episode 10. The team travels to another local gym to get warmed up while the other matches are going on. When they return, Hinata realizes that he had lost his bag, so his shoes are missing. His phone was also in the bag, so when they call it, a kid answers and explains that he grabbed Hinata's bag by accident. The kid and his mom agree to wait at the gym, so Kyoko runs down there with the kid's bag in order to make the exchange. While this is going on, we get some backstory on Kyoko, who used to be on the track team before she joined as manager of the volleyball team. Her ride ends up leaving, so she has to rely on her speed instead to get her back just in time to get Hinata his shoes. Their first match is against Tsubaki Hara, where they fall behind early on because Kageyama needs some time to find his groove in the match. Things are still looking rough with Kageyama's play, so Tadashi makes an early substitution to give him a chance to reset. This works out as Kageyama comes online and Hinata nails their first quick of the tournament. Episode 11. It's not just Kageyama making his mark, but Tsukushima is exerting a lot of pressure onto the attackers as well. Hinata is also relying less on his instincts and actually reading the players to see where the ball will go, leading to some clutch saves. It's still a bit of a work in progress because the ball is just bouncing off his chest or face when he does it, but the thought is there. Side character nobody cares about, Kinoshita, comes in to fuck up a serve and then is immediately benched again. On match point in the first set, Tsubaki Hara's pinch server Himekawa chokes his underhand serve pretty badly, nailing his teammate in the back of the head and gifting the first set to Karasuno. This just goes to show that every team has a useless Yamaguchi. His redemption arc ensues in the second set where Karasuno is leading, but Himekawa's unorthodox underhand serves gets them some easy points and the lead. Karasuno brings it to match point for the second set and Sugawara is subbed in. A long rally ensues and eventually Asahi is the one to put it away, ending the set and the match with Karasuno as the winners. Episode 12. We get a quick look at Fukurodani, whose drama queen Ace is already off his game because he wanted to play in the main arena instead of the sub-arena. With their match over, Karasuno heads over to watch Nekima play, where they take an early win against Kyokawa. Back to Fukurodani, who try to keep the ball from their ace until his mental has recovered. Luckily, Keiji is still a bit of a Bokudo whisperer, and he gets his ace back online, leading to their first win also. Hinata has his first run-in with Hoshiumi, and it instantly turns into a bit of a rivalry. When they watch one of his games, though, it's clear that he is a step above Hinata, as him and the Kamomedai High School team make quick work of their opponents. In the last scene, we see that Ryunosuke might be the first one to end Karasuno's long female drought when his childhood friend Kanaka Amanai starts sending him some signals. Episode 13. We get a short flashback of how Ryunosuke was the one that introduced Kanaka to volleyball and gave her more confidence because she was self-conscious about her tall height. For Karasuno's second match, they are going up against the second place team from this year's Inter-High tournament, Inarizaki High School, who are also the favorites to win the whole tournament. Their top scorer, number 4, Ojira Aran, is like Bokuto being just outside the top 3 hitters in Japan. The middle blocker is number 10, Suna Rintaro, who is a lot shorter than most middle blockers, but his instincts make up for that. These are two of their big guns, but the last major threat they need to keep in mind is Miya, who is the setter that called Kageyama a goody two-shoes at their camp. It's not just his setting that makes him a threat, because he is also well known for his serves, doing both insane spike serves as well as jump float serves. We get some more filler content when Kanaka and Ryunosuke end up alone together, and she almost confesses to him when her cousin walks up to cockblock him. Ryunosuke obviously fears that this is her boyfriend, so he bolts, leaving her heartbroken. While practicing, they learn that Miya's twin brother brother Osamu had to sit out the finals for the qualifier because he wasn't feeling 100%. Now he's back though, so that's just one more thing that they have to keep in mind during their match. Ganaka clears up the cousin misunderstanding, but they are both too focused on their upcoming games, so neither of them pulls the trigger just yet. Their second match gets underway where Kia gets an early lead with his serves while Asahi messes up his. This is because the crowd is being kind of BM. They are completely quiet while Mia serves, but when Karasuno goes to serve, they start booing them. Hinata then gets the perfect setup to score in the last scene, but is too focused on his jump and forgot to actually hit the ball. It's still enough to warrant an immediate reaction from Mia and Inarizaki though, realizing that he's a potential threat. I'm going to be doing the future seasons, and you can find that on the left side whenever I'm finished with it, or you can check out all of the Haikyuu recaps in the playlist on the right side. You can also find the links in the description below, and the only thing I hate more than intros is outros.